everyone, I hope you're staying safe at home. Today we're going to go over the 7 principles of the Constitution. So this is kind of going to be a repeat after me. I've never made a video doing this before, so let's hope it goes smoothly. All right, repeat after me. I'm going to say everything twice. The 7 principles of the Constitution. The 7 principles of the Constitution are the rules the government must follow. Are the rules the government must follow. Rule 1, limited government. Rule 1, limited government. The government is limited by the Constitution. The government is limited by the Constitution. All right, why do you think we draw a box like this for limited government? Well, it's because if we were outside and we had a box and we took a frog and put him in the box, his movement would be limited. So just like his movement is limited, our government's powers are limited by our document, the Constitution, you can see as I draw the scroll. So again, rule 1, limited government. The government is limited by the Constitution. Rule 2, popular sovereignty. The people have the power to control the government. Now, again, we're going to repeat that so you guys get to do it twice. Rule 2, popular sovereignty. Rule 2, popular sovereignty. The people have the power to control the government. All right, now with that, why do you think we say the people? What are my hands doing? I'm going through and I'm making sure that everybody's involved, all the people, maybe all the people at home anyways. And then the power, I'm doing my strong arms here like I'm a bodybuilder, all right? The power to control the government. And you can see here that I'm kind of driving a car, like I'm controlling it. So that's where those movements come from, all right? Number 3, republicanism. Again, remember, I'll be repeating these things twice. So, number 3, republicanism. The people vote for representatives to make laws for us. I'm going to do that one more time. Rule 3, republicanism. The people vote for representatives to make laws for us. Let's take a minute and let's look at those motions. The people, again, just like we used in popular sovereignty, points to everyone outside. Then, vote for representatives, like you're checking off a box in your voting ballots. Vote for representatives to make laws for us. It's the give and take between the lawmakers and the people. We want certain rules and they make them for us, okay? We're going to move on to rule number 4, individual rights. Rule 4, individual rights. The government protects the rights to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Now again, I'm going to repeat that again. So the government protects the rights. The government protects the rights to protect the rights of life, making a heart, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. So we'll do that one more time. The government protects the rights. The government protects the rights of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. All right, let's go ahead and talk about those movements. All right, so at this point in time, we look at the government protects the right. It's kind of like you've got that Captain American shield here. You're protecting the rights, okay? What rights? Well, those rights that we talked about in the Enlightenment paper, which if you were here, I'd have you pull out. But with that, it's the rights to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Life, here's our heart beating. Liberty, the ideas that can flow freely from our minds, and our cheesy smile for our happiness, okay? All right, those are the first 4 principles of the Constitution. we're going to move on to number 5. I have my cheat sheet here in case you were wondering. All right. Number 5, federalism. Federalism is when you have the state and the federal government that work together but separate their powers. So we're going to do that again. Rule 5. Rule 5. Federalism. Federalism. The state and the federal government work together but separate their powers. Okay? Let's do that one more time. Rule 5. Rule 5. Federalism. Federalism. It's when the federal and the state government work together but separate their powers. Work together but separate their powers. So you can see in this motion, it's like I have one part of the government is the federal government, one is the state. The state and the federal government, they work together, we clap our hands, and then they separate their powers. So to give you some idea of that, we can look at even, what's going on today. The state and the federal government are working together to control this virus outbreak, but they each have their own separate powers in what they can actually control. So you can see that in some of the news articles, okay? Number 6, separation of powers. This is a big part of our Constitution. It's a huge action in our ability to control the different branches. So we have separation of powers. In separation of powers, the government can break down into 3 branches, each with their own superpowers. The legislative branch writes the laws, the executive branch carries out the laws, and the judicial branch interprets the laws. So let's take another look at that and repeat it. Rule 6, separation of powers. In separation of powers, the government breaks into 3 branches. So, Rule 6, separation of powers, the government breaks into 3 branches, each with their own superpowers. Come on, join me. Each with their own superpowers. The legislative branch writes the laws. The legislative branch writes the laws. The executive branch carries out the laws. The executive branch carries out the laws. And the judicial branch interprets the laws. And the judicial branch interprets the laws. All right, now when we look at those, each of those movements, they kind of make sense. So each of our branches do have their own superpowers. They can each do different jobs. And when we look at the Constitution, you're going to see that. Now, the legislation branch on a whole is our Congress. Congress gets together and they write the laws. So this is like a piece of paper, and I'm writing a law with my finger. Then the executive branch, they can carry out the law. It's like it's moving. They can make sure that they're enforcing the laws, that people are kind of following them. Then the judicial branch, of course, interprets the laws. They decide, is that law legal? Does it meet all the qualifications set forth in the Constitution? So our judicial branch interprets the laws. Now, we've made it all the way to number 7. Number 7 is checks and balances, all right? So number 7, checks and balances. In checks and balances, the legislative branch writes the laws, the executive branch can veto the law, and with 2/3 vote from Congress, Congress can override the veto. Let's do that again. Number 7, checks and balances. In checks and balances, the legislative branch writes the laws, the legislative branch writes the laws, the executive branch can veto the law, the executive branch can veto the law, and the judicial branch can the legislative branch can override the veto with 2/3 vote from Congress to override the veto. I apologize for that last part, so I'm going to repeat that. Again, in checks and balances, the legislative branch can write the law, the executive branch can veto the law, and with 2/3 vote from Congress, Congress can override the veto. If we break those down, we can see that the legislative branch writes the laws, which we know is true. You'll enjoy a Schoolhouse Rock video about how Congress puts laws into effect shortly. Then, in addition to that, we know that the president can veto a law. Here's your V, okay, right there. And then Congress can override that veto. Even if the president doesn't want to put that into law, with a 2/3 vote from Congress, Congress can override the veto. Well, I hope you enjoyed our 7 principles of the Constitution lesson. Please, please practice these. They will help you to make you understand the 7 principles of Constitution. I know that this kind of topic is a little bit hard to grasp, but please, please, please go ahead and practice those with your family at home. You're stuck at home with them, so maybe you could teach your parents the 7 principles of the Constitution too. All right, have a great day, guys. Stay safe.